It is my sincere pleasure to introduce our first keynote speaker. Many of you who have been at the festival before has heard Leo Alebe address this audience. He is always inspirational and moving to listen to. And this year, he's going to be doing it in the role of our chairperson. So it is with great honor that I'm able to introduce Leo, who is a veteran leader with more than 2 decades of experience. I think there's a point where we stop wanting to list the decades, but he's at 2 decades, I'm talking for myself, but 2 decades of experience. He's worked with industry titans, from Facebook gaming to Google Play to YouTube gaming and Xbox, and has helped shape the worlds of the most iconic entertainment brands. He's worked across platforms, genres, and generations of technology, building teams, launching games, and advising developers and startups. He not only brings deep knowledge of leadership, but also genuine passion for the work that we do at Games for Change. In his keynote, working together to build a better tomorrow couldn't be more apt, as he'll share real-world examples of how companies and creators are using games to amplify underrepresented voices and deliver experiences to inspire empathy, purpose, and action. So please welcome one of the nicest people in the games industry and a dear friend of mine, Leo Alebe, to the stage.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it. Hey, everybody. Wow, you're all here. This is magical, absolutely magical. I'm so excited to presenting and speaking with all of you today. Really kind of want to introduce the day and share some thoughts that I've had about this really important time and why we're here. So big thank you to Susanna and everyone. We can switch to the slides, or maybe I'm supposed to be the clicker. All right, cool. So as Susanna said, the title, Working Together to Build a Better Tomorrow. But of course, I had to go a little bit crazy. And so I've already changed the title to Designing the Possible, Games, Future, and the Power of Us. Now, I'm going to start back with actually went to Occidental College, and I have the pleasure of serving as a trustee for Oxy. And this is a college, if you're not familiar with it, that was founded in 1887. And it's a liberal arts school in LA, known for its strong emphasis on interdisciplinary learning, social justice, and global engagement. And I was at a Board of Trustees retreat earlier in the year, maybe just a couple of months ago. And you can imagine there's probably nothing more exciting than talking about pedagogy and policy and procedures. That's a joke. It's not always the most exciting thing, but I do want to emphasize this is just such an important time, I think, in education across the board. And I know there's so many educators here in this room. So the opportunities that we have to support higher education and educational institutions is absolutely incredibly important. One of the really cool things, though, that comes out of volunteering for a college is, of course, the chance to meet and learn from extraordinary minds. And so my actual favorite session of the trustee retreat was a mini lecture, and this is actually Professor Damian Stocking, lots of degrees, he's amazing and awesome. But he gave a lecture about the concept of overtones and resonance. So if there are people in the room who play the piano, musicians, you're gonna be familiar with this, but I really wanna introduce it to everybody. And the basic idea is that when we think about language, deeds, and actions in this world, they are all related. And you can actually find this in the example of overtones on the piano. So let's take a look at what this is and learn together.
Hi, I'm going to demonstrate for you the concept of fundamental and overtone. On this, the grand piano, we have 88 keys, and that's considered to be the range of notes that the human ear can hear comfortably. Pretty much all from the lowest to the highest. To show you though, when you play a note, any kind of note, you're actually hearing a series of fundamental pitch and overtones with that pitch. And to help demonstrate that, I'm going to show you a little experiment. If you look down and you see these little dampers that lift up. Okay, that means every time I hold a note down, or any kind of note, these things come up. And as long as I hold the key down, it stays up. So what I'm gonna do though, to kind of demonstrate this, is I'm gonna play one note, starting with this low C. And I'm gonna have you listen and hear how if you play the note and you play it short, the damper goes up, the hammer hits the string, and it comes back down. Well, what happens is, here's what happens when we have one of the notes as part of the overtone series being held down. If you look at my hands here, this is the low C. I'm gonna actually play an octave higher, middle C. That's part of the low C's overtone series. But instead of holding it down, I'm actually just gonna rest it there. And now I'm gonna play the note short, and I want you to listen to what happens. Can you hear the pitch? The pitch is reverberating, okay? It's the overtone. Now we can expand on this further. The next note in the overtone series for this low C would be there's middle C and then there's G above that. So if I hold these two down without letting them ring, the strings are exposed. Now you have two pitches. Let's do it further. Let's do G, then C above that, and then E above that. You can hear them. Now when I do this with students, they sometimes say to me, well, you're just hearing, Mr. McGalley, you're just hearing the ringing of the strings, which there is a little bit of that no matter what you do. But here's what I showed them then. I said, I'm going to take my hand and I'm going to play a cluster. I'm going to push it all down. I'm going to do that nice and slow. Okay, and let's see what happens when I do it again. Here we go. You're hearing primarily just the overtone series. And you can do this on any note. If I do a G below this, and I go, my hand's a little stretchy here, but if I put those four notes down as part of that overtone, that actually comes out even, because the strings are longer, that actually comes out even more richer, okay? So that is the overtone and fundamental series, and thank you for watching.
All right, yeah. We learned about overtones as a group today. So I imagine y'all are sitting here going, okay, what does this mean relative to our theme of designing for tomorrow? I believe that it begins with resonance, these overtones, with an understanding that every action, every word, every decision we make is actually, it's not isolated. It's just a note in a much larger composition. And Dr. Stocking actually gave a great example of this in the simple phrase, I love you. It seems simple, but that phrase is anything but. It's a chord that struck across centuries, and it vibrates with meaning drawn from the deepest roots of our culture, our philosophy, and our shared human experience. When Sappho said it, it meant, I am undone by you. I exist because you've touched me, because I felt something I can't control. That vulnerability, that ache, echoes through us still. When Plato wrote of beauty, he meant that to love is to be reminded that life has meaning, that I love you really says, you make sense of this world for me. Aristotle adds, you awaken me. Love turns potential into action. It's the ignition of purpose. Catullus, ever the rebel, gives us escape. I love you as a bolt out of society's cage. We see this in the Gospels. They offer trust. I love you as a surrender to joy deeper than suffering. There's even the code of chivalry, which teaches honor, and that I love you means I will uphold you, I will protect you. There's also a 14th century poet, Hafez, who says and comments about the selfless nature of love. And finally, Dante, weary and yearning, teaches us redemption. I love you as a way out of self-pity and into grace. So when you say, I love you to someone in your life, it carries the weight and significance of great history and philosophy behind it. Each of these connotations, ache, meaning, action, rebellion, trust, honor, redemption, are not lost to history. They resonate. They are the tones that live inside us every time we speak, create, or connect. So when we in this room talk about designing for tomorrow, we're really asking the question, what tones will we choose to amplify? What frequencies will our work carry into this world? I would add that if resonance begins in love, its echo is inclusion, because every voice deserves to be heard. And I think that's really the measure, isn't it? Not just what we say or what we build, but how it resonates, how it lands, and how it lasts. You know, one of the ways that I try to understand if I'm creating something positive, something with real impact, is a simple phrase that I return to again and again. You've actually heard me say it on the stage before. And I do this both in my personal life as well as in my work. And that phrase is, bring people in, don't push people out. For me, it's a phrase that's a compass. It's a lens. Because impact without inclusion isn't impact. It's imposition. And innovation without empathy isn't innovation. It's actually isolation. Let me say that again. That's a lot of rhyming. Impact without inclusion is not impact. It's imposition. Innovation without empathy is not innovation. It's isolation. And you see, the imperative behind this, bring people in, don't push people out, is that we need to do what we can to bridge divide so we can push towards positive change, which is what Games for Change is all about. In effect, we need to strive to heal cracks in humanity. And still, you know, even with the best of intentions, even with love and resonance and radical welcome, we know this: healing takes time. I would say we actually live in a world full of fractures. They're personal, they're historic, they're systemic, and in a culture obsessed with speed and polish, it's tempting to believe that we can just fix things quickly. But see, here's the thing. Healing doesn't erase the break. It writes over it. The body recovers, yes, but the scar, all of your scars, all the scars that we have, you know, that's actually part of our story now. And that's actually not failure. That's not wounds. It's what I'd like to call growth with memory. Like a bone that heals stronger at the fracture, our communities grow stronger when we acknowledge and not erase our wounds. You know, I've lived this personally. And as we all have, throughout my career, I've been laid off multiple times. I've been screamed at, passed over, profiled, you name it. But at the same time, I've also found great friendships. I've learned amazing skills. I've watched my children fall in love with games, and I've been lifted up by a community that has always helped keep me going. And through it all, actually the most enduring lesson has been this: we don't rise alone. We actually rise together. So as we design for tomorrow, we can't aim for perfection that forgets. We actually need wholeness that remembers. Systems and platforms and communities that know where the breaks were and choose to grow around them anyways, making us all stronger. When we do this, when we do our best to heal the bones of humanity, again, we grow stronger together. Deep stuff, I know. But don't worry, we'll have some fun too. It's all good. Of course, I've got to have a picture of Gandalf. So this is Gandalf. Everybody knows Gandalf the Wise, right? He is deeply wise. He's respected for his experience, his good judgment, philosophical insight. You might even call him a sage. This is a little controversial part of my talk here. Now, let me say this. I actually think that tomorrow doesn't need more sages on the stage. What we actually need are guides on the side. And if you think about storytelling, a guide on the side is a mentor or a helper who empowers the hero without dominating the spotlight. They nudge, they teach, and they advise, and they let others lead. Some of you may know that I come from a family that really loves Star Wars. I've got a tattoo of Darth Vader on my arm here. My kids actually call me Vader. So of course, I'm gonna say a great example of this. This might surprise you now that I think about it. I'm like, wait, what? Is actually Yoda. What did he just do there? He's a Vader guy, but he put up a picture of Yoda. Yes, I did. And that's because, we don't need people who lecture, but we need people who listen. Folks who don't dictate, but co-create. And none of us are here to be all-knowing oracles, but we're here to hand you the flashlight and say, you go first. I've got your back. I would argue that leadership, after all, is only as powerful as the world that we build. So I want to jump quickly, actually not so quickly, we're gonna go through this stuff, so bear with me, I hope you guys are with me on this. Let's turn some of our attention to studios and developers and companies and people that I believe are already composing the soundtrack of the future. So if we look at contemporary industry examples, and start here first with planet and sustainability, this is a lot of great work happening in this space. Of course, there's the Playing for the Planet Alliance, which is led by the United Nations. It's coalition partners with studios to weave environmental stories, quests into carbon-cutting pledges into games like Alba Wildlife Adventure, proving that tiny in-game nudges can inspire real-world climate action. I mentioned that I am from Microsoft and Xbox, worked there. From recycled plastic peripherals to firmware that actually shifts consoles into carbon-aware update windows. The team bakes eco-consciousness into hardware, software, and narrative, so sustainability becomes a default design principle and not just a marketing slogan. And of course, there's also Niantic Spatial, and they work with a lot of nonprofit partners, and they're using AR technology behind games like Pokemon Go. And they give underserved communities the power to create fun, engaging experiences and emphasize the importance of shared spaces. And if we can heal the planet, surely we can heal each other. So here's some studios working on empathy, safety, and accessibility. I think Jessica's here. Katie is here. Wicked Saint Studios, World Reborn, shifts the power fantasy away from combat and towards emotional intelligence and ethical choice mechanics, proving that games can teach empathy as deftly as they teach reflex. There's Social Cipher. They built a game called Ava. It's built by neurodiverse developers for neurodiverse youth. They turn living experience into code that helps players navigate social anxiety one quest at a time. And there's also, of course, KID, who I know is here as well. They offer developers real-time safety rails, privacy controls, age-appropriate content filters, global consent tools, so kids and teens can explore online worlds without fear. How incredible is that? But inclusion isn't just a feature set. It's a workforce as well. Again, it's all of us here in this room. We have a job to do. So of course, let's look at some companies and game studios. Yeah, okay, I got this right. I was like, wait, what happened? Working on representation, equity, and global growth. Of course, there's Riot Games with their social impact fund, and its innovative community-driven model has successfully raised over $50 million for over 450 organizations across 28 regions since 2019, demonstrating the power of games to make a difference. Hopefully everybody's also familiar with Carry First, who localize international hits and incubate homegrown mobile titles, unlocking revenue streams and creating careers for people across one of the world's fastest growing gaming markets. Everybody who's into gaming in Africa, raise your hands. I'm one. Kiru Games from Cameroon developed a game, Orion, Legacy of the Koreadan, draws deep on African mythology to declare, our stories matter, our voices belong, all while proving that a full production cycle can thrive on the continent. And there's another piece of this which is really important, and so I think a big question is, who will build the next decade of these worlds? And actually, I think for a possible answer to this, we need to look into the classroom and, of course, the example of G4C Learn. And Games for Change Learn exists to make sure that the answer to this question, who will build the next decade of these worlds, is everyone. It now meets learners on at least 3 fronts, probably many more. There's the Student Challenge, the Game Design Competition, turning the UN SDGs into playable prototypes, Since 2015, it's engaged thousands of students and educators building STEAM skills through creative problem solving. Of course, some of you here participated in the Next Gen Summit, free one-day career discovery event. Kids 13 to 18 go through hands-on game design workshops, esports showcases, meet and greet with industry professionals, seeding a more diverse talent pipeline. Game Plan Educator Fellowship as well, 8-session series that equips teachers, museum staff, and out-of-school learners to run game design programs, adapting G4C's Intro to Game Design curriculum, and of course, responsible AI resources for their own classrooms. There's so much going on. It's incredible. So from classrooms to console studios, all of these programs just prove one thing. I think that's why we're all here today. Tomorrow is not an idea, it's actually a practice. So to get a little bit personal for a second, this is me and my wife and our 3 kids. They're 18, 16, and 14. And when I look at my kids, one codes games, and I'll let everybody figure out who's who. One is coding games, one's navigating neurodiversity, one's basically living on Roblox. Maybe they all are living in Roblox. I'm reminded, actually, that the future isn't far away at all. It's here. It's in how we show up. It's in what we create. I would add, it's in what we let go sometimes, and also what we hold on to. I would also tell you that my family comes from all over the world: the United States, Uganda, Kenya, India, China, Japan, Belarus, Ukraine. It's from a lot of different places. Nowhere is it perfect, but that's just it, isn't it? We don't inherit a perfect world. We inherit a world that's layered. It's unfinished. It has fractures. And that means it's full of potential. So every day, every one of us here in this room, we actually choose what to amplify. So I'm going to ask you, what will your contribution be? And that's because I believe you matter. Not your title, you, the person, the player, the guide on the side. That's all of everyone here. Writer Joseph Campbell says, the privilege of a lifetime is being who you are. Follow your bliss. Make it meaningful. Make it kind. Make it inclusive. Just do something. Bring people in. Don't push people out. And as you do it, don't be afraid to fail. I think this is where a lot of us get tripped up. We're afraid. It's okay. The most powerful learning actually doesn't come from perfection. It comes from motion. It comes from trying. It comes from twisting through life's unexpected turns. And those turns and dips, think about it as like a big roller coaster. That's actually where the growth happens. It's the hard stuff that makes us stronger, everybody. I know all of you know this, but let's think about it. Empathy, too, is born from experience. It's not theory. It's born from listening. It's born from sitting in somebody else's moment. Talked about kindness. Talked about being thoughtful to others. Again, that's where we all grow. And so when adversity hits, and it will, that's when you see what really binds us together. It's not the easy wins, everybody. It's the shared struggle. And I think we know this as well. The truth is that none of us find success alone. So I implore you, let's build, let's heal, and of course, let's play. Because the game isn't over, and every move that we make now actually strikes a note that will reverberate well beyond today. Remember those overtones that we heard at the very, very beginning of this very long talk? Those are the hidden harmonic vibrations that linger after the very first key is pressed. I believe our actions are the same, and that's why what we're starting with today will resonate everywhere. So I would implore you as well, go out and choose your notes wisely. The resonance that we create together is going to shape the soundtrack of tomorrow. Every decision you make, each community you nurture, each I love you dare to say aloud adds another layer to humanity's chord. So again, choose your notes wisely, continue to do the things that you do. You matter, you're important, your voices need to be heard, especially because this game isn't over. We're just getting started. Have a great day.